What's up, y'all? It's your girl Mary Jane Gambino, and I'm here to talk about this video that I named Justice for Angel. It's just she went, and no, she comes back. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Mary Jane Gambino, and I'm here to talk about this video that I named Justice for Angel. It's just here to clarify the events that happened with my son and why he's not here with us today. Because I get asked a lot from people, what happened? If you don't mind me asking, how did your son die? Things of that nature. So I'm here to just clarify and talk about my son a little bit and the things that I've gone through and the things that I still go through today mentally and emotionally sometimes. So as we all know, I was pregnant about 2 years ago. I had already got pregnant 3 times before Angel. One of them was an ectopic pregnancy. And for those who don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is when your fetus gets stuck in your fallopian tube. And sometimes women lose their fallopian tubes because they have to, take them out because maybe the fetus grew too big, and you can lose your life from an ectopic pregnancy. And in other situations like myself, thank God I didn't have to lose my fallopian tube. We just kind of, had to abort the baby. The second pregnancy was the actual miscarriage, and that's when you lose the child naturally. I never understood the cause at that time of why I was losing kids. So I finally got pregnant from Angel, and at first, it wasn't like a oh my God type of feeling. Because the first pregnancy was because I was 26 years old and I had never got pregnant ever, and I was with my significant other at the time for at that time already 4 years, and he had 3 other kids, and I was just not getting pregnant. So when I first got pregnant, it was like oh my God, I'm about to be a mother. It was an excitement, of course. And then after that, with Angel, I didn't really have much hope, much faith, because I had already lost 2 babies. I wasn't understanding why, and these are the mistakes that I made that I want to talk about with you guys. That way people out there that are going through what I went through, or, who knows, they could probably dodge going through this. Just an experience and a lesson that, hopefully somebody can learn from. And my mistake was not putting myself first and not having faith. That's very important, whether you're religious or you're not. We always have faith in something, It doesn't have to necessarily be a God, Jesus, or whoever you might believe in, Buddha, whatever. But we all have a little speck of faith in us. And that faith that I had was gone at that point, because I'm losing kids left to right. I'm feeling like it's me, I'm the problem. But in the midst of those situations, I was also caught up in the mix of being in a domestic, relationship. People would think, oh my God, like, you're just so violent. People have seen situations in my life where they've seen me go off on certain men and, be like, there goes MJ. She's talking shit to these niggas, but we have to understand this. I'm a female in a male dominant game, and being a boss and very dominant and strict and being raised by my father was what made me today. So when you're a business person, of course you learn how to take your L's, because that's what it is, but you're in a dominant game. So people automatically assume, because they have seen me go off on certain people, that I'm aggressive, you know, especially aggressive towards men, which is not true. There's times where I've had to defend myself because I've been threatened. My life has been threatened at that point of moment, and because the song, you know, the music is so loud, nobody can really hear, you know, the words that have been exchanged between the times that I've gone into an altercation at a show. So I just want to clarify that I'm not really an aggressive person, but I can be aggressive when I'm in a situation where I have to be protective of myself and the people around me, of course, because it's a show and I always want every show to be successful. I didn't come into this game to not be successful. I came into this game to be successful. With that being said, I came from a household where women are submissive to their husbands. I was with this man for 6 years, and I really loved him, and I was really, you know, like any other girl, infatuated, lust, all kinds of stuff over the man that I was with at the time. You know, if you know who I was with 2 years ago and for 6 years, then you know who I'm talking about. If you don't, we'll just regard to him as him out of respect. You know, this person was very violent. Of course, in the beginning, I was violent. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. I, you know, talk shit to him because cheat, lie, betrayal, you know, and things that I thought were real. I thought this man really cared about his kids. I thought this man was a family man, like he persuaded me to think he was, and I thought all these wonderful things about him. He's not the worst person, but not the best either. And because he knew that I have this perception of being an aggressive woman, of course he can use that against me. Obviously, anybody can. But you can't judge a book by its cover without really opening up the pages and reading them. What's inside is what counts, not what you see. It was really hard to let go because, again, I had never got pregnant. Not making this an excuse, but I'm keeping it real. It's important to always keep it real with people. So if you want to lie about yourself and say, oh, well, I didn't walk away, but I should have, and I know I didn't, but it's just, this isn't, I'm not going to justify why I didn't walk away. I understand that I should have left. But any other woman or man that has been in love understands how hard it is. Especially when you're having kids back to back and losing them with the same person. I was manipulated. There was a lot of narcissism in the relationship, and I didn't leave because I was in love with the toxicness that came with it. We get addicted to things just like people get addicted to drugs. And I got addicted to whatever relationship was established between me and this person. When I finally got pregnant off an angel, it was good at times, and then it was not, and then it was times where I knew I wasn't living right, and I didn't have faith in my son that he was gonna make it. I was going through a lot of stress and just always concerned about the man. Never concerned about my health, never concerned about my son. Not that I didn't care about my son, I'm just keeping it real with you guys. At that point, I was already like, I don't even know if this baby's gonna make it. I'm in this fucked up ass relationship. This nigga's putting his hands on me, and I'm not even putting my hands on him because I'm pregnant. I can't with a man. Like, when you're pregnant, what the fuck? Like, that's logic. And anybody that knows me knows I'm a fan of logic. I mean, look at the way that I speak. And, you know, it just was hard. It was just really fucking hard, and I have no faith whatsoever. I was going through so much shit, even at my job, my family, in the industry. There's a lot of things going on at that time. I was fighting a case around this time. So I was going to court. I did time, and there was all kinds of shit that was going on when I was pregnant off an Angel. And I didn't start getting physically abused until it was into like 7 months into pregnancy, and that's when I just changed. I started raising a lot of money, you know, putting a lot of money away, thinking ahead, making sure that my son was going to be straight, because I started to give a fuck, you know. I'm like, oh shit, I'm 7 months. But the thing is that every time that I could go to the doctor, they would do the ultrasounds, and my son was like faced, like I was pregnant. My son's head, his face was faced back, like looking to my back, and like all you could see is his back and the back of his head and a little bit of his shoulder. So every time that I would go, they could never see my son, and I was just getting frustrated. Like I couldn't understand what the fuck was going on. And since it was my actual first pregnancy, you know, at this point he isolated me from my homegirls, isolated me from my family, isolated me from everything that I had. I didn't have nothing but him, and he didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck. And it's just a fact. Like, how can I come talk to you when I can't talk to you, you know? And this is the struggles of my life at that time, and it was just really hard for me to let go. The abuse started at 7 months, you know, over dumb shit, over game systems, over money, over bitches, over disrespect, over why are you letting that nigga hug you? I told you I don't like niggas hugging you, and the niggas ain't shit, the niggas ain't me. Bitch, you're fat as fuck, you're never gonna find. So all those things was like stressing me the fuck out. I was stressed out because I couldn't see my son. I was just like, I didn't know what the fuck to do. I didn't know what the fuck to think. I was just at a standpoint in my life where shit was so out of order, and I was not living right whatsoever. Finally, there was this is how everything started happening with Angel, that I found out that he had a woman in my car while I was at work. And I was like almost 8 months I was about to be 8 months pregnant. So I get home, we start arguing. You know, I started yelling at him, telling him, get your shit, get the fuck out of my house. Fuck you, fuck you. At this point, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to raise my kid by myself. You know, fuck it. I could do this. I'm a boss. I don't give a fuck. So at this point, I'm arguing with him. And he's calling me a book of bitches, telling me that I'm a fat bitch. That, yeah, he had a bitch in my car. And that's what the fuck I get for being a stupid fat bitch. Nobody would ever want me and all this shit. So all this shit is balling up, and I'm just like fed up. I'm like, you know what, just get your stuff and get out of my house. And as he's walking out and I'm walking out, he grabs me and he starts hitting me outside in front of people. And people are so fucking cruel and fucked up. If you ever see a man putting his hands on a woman and you're a man, I don't give a fuck what race you are. Niggas gotta protect niggas. Fuck out of here. That's not the godly way. If you see a man that's stronger than a woman putting his hands on her, as a real man, you pull that nigga off and you say, you know what? You're too fucking strong to be putting your hands on her. Bro, what are you thinking? Leave the bitch. That's logic. If you gotta get to the point where you're putting your hands on me and I'm pregnant and not even retaliating on you, I'm not even putting my hands on you. I'm trying to talk to you. Hey, get your stuff, please get out. You had a woman in my car. Why would I want to stay at this point? it's like logic. I remember I was trying to explain it to him. We're both walking out. I'm storming out. I'm like, I'm gonna go to my mom's house. I can't take this. He's yelling at me. My adrenaline is coming up. My back is hurting me. My stomach was hurting me. I just couldn't control myself. And he grabs me. He physically starts slapping me, and I'm going down the stairs, and I fell. I fell 3 stairs. I'm sitting there, I'm like twisting and turning and shit, making sure that, you know, like nobody saw that, because I was scared. I was fighting a case, and he would always tell me, like, if you hit me, or, you know, I'm gonna make you hit me, I'm gonna call cops on you, you're just gonna go to jail. Like, when you're being threatened like that and you're pregnant, you're not gonna retaliate. I was scared. Like, I wasn't scared to go to jail, but I was scared to be in jail and have my son in jail and go to prison and not be able to be a mother to my kid. So I was in this bubble, you know, of toxicness. And I never forget when I fell down the stairs. He stood there, and I looked up, and instead of him giving a fuck about us, me and the kid, he just looked down and he laughed. He laughed at me. Told me I was fucking pathetic. That's what he did. Maybe I was fucking pathetic at that time. You know, I felt like that because I allowed myself to get that low. And I'm thinking in my head, like, damn, bitch, like, you're a fucking street bitch. Like, you don't even let these niggas talk to you in that type of way. You won't let this bitch ass nigga talk to you like that. Like, I was just so fucking vulnerable. Like, I was just so stupid. Like, I was just so, like, I don't know. I was just so fucking stupid. So dick sprung, you know, like, just controlled. Just was stupid. It was stupid. And then, like, after that, like, I started leaking a lot, and I would call girls, like, you know, that had kids, and I would be like, hey, is this leaking shit normal? And they would be like, oh, you probably peed on yourself. Like, it's normal. You're 8 months. Like, the baby's putting pressure on your uterus. And then, like, I stopped feeling my baby kick me, because, like, for a really long time before that, he was kicking me a lot. And, like, after that, he, like, wasn't kicking. And not, like, noticed the change. Like, my son's not kicking. And I would tell him, like, hey, babe, like, our baby's not kicking it. Like, he would just be on his fucking video game. Just didn't give a fuck. And then I finally had a doctor's appointment, October 11th. I'll never forget. This is like the last doctor I told myself I was gonna go to. And as they're doing the scan, she's asking me questions and shit. She's like, I can't see the baby. And I'm like, I know, like, I've been having that problem. And then she's just started asking me questions, like, about me leaking. And then I had a show that day. We had an open mic. And I had to cancel because I was having Angel. A lot of things were going through my head. He was at work. And I left my truck at my dad's house because I wasn't going to leave my car with him. Fuck that. I trust him. And I went to my parents, and I asked my parents, like, would you guys, like, pray for me before I went? And we did that. And then when we got to the hospital, I called him and I said, hey, we're having our kid. I Ubered him there, him and his sister. Shout out to his sister. I really love her. She was really affected from this a lot. And they did an emergency C-section on me. And they was pulling my son out. You know, they numb you from here down. And the only person that was in there was my mother. And as I was laying there, I just kept looking at my mom like, trying to see what she was looking at from her eyes. I know that sounds weird because you can't look at what another person's looking, but she's my mother, and energy was there. And me and my mom believe in energy. She's my mother, she birthed me. So energy was everything in that room at the time. It was very spiritual. And I kept talking to her, and she kept looking down like at her phone, like kept doing this. And her face told me everything, that there was a lot of things that were wrong. And when they pulled him out, I heard him cry twice, which is supernatural because he was born with half organs and he wasn't developed. And when they pulled him out, I must have died, because when I closed my eyes and because they were like, we're losing her. As I'm looking at my mom, I'm like closing my eyes. I can hear my son crying. And I seen the other side. And the other side was 2 doors. And when I opened one door, it was light. There was nothing there. And it was like I had to enter to find out what was in there. Like, it was just pure light. And it was dark around me. And when I woke up, I went back to sleep, or I don't know, unconscious. When I went back, I heard my son cry again. And in the second door, when I opened it, it was him in the form of a demon, sort of kind of beastly, beating the fuck out of me and my kid. And that's what I saw. And when I woke up, I had to think quick. I had to hurry up and think. All you have is your thoughts, seconds, a minute, an hour. You don't have time. Time was just not on my side. It was like time, like the clock was going like this. Everything was so fucking quick. Like, everything was just so fucking quick. Like, everything was just so quick. That shit was not normal. Like, the time, like everything, the event, like everything was just fucked up. Everything was fucked up. So I fucking come out, right? And like, they put you in this room. And the doctor was talking to me. He's like, your son, you know, he was born with deformalities, and you know, you're this and that. And all I heard was deformalities. After I heard that fucking word, I was like, go attend to my son. I can't talk right now. I have anxiety, I said, and I have to get myself together. And you know, you can't move after like a surgery. Like, when they numb you, you cannot move whatsoever. So they took it to the other room, and all I hear is him talking shit. And it was my sister, him, his sister, and my mom. And my mom goes in there, and she's like, he wants to see you. And I'm like, let him come in. He came in, he started talking shit. He was like, I'm gonna take my fucking kid away from you. All this fucking shit. My family is on their way. They're gonna take him away from you. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, I just got out of surgery. Like, I just got out of having your fucking kid. Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, he didn't know what was going on either. So he's flipping the fuck out. I'm like in this bed. My mom's like fucking traumatized. My sister's pissed the fuck off. His sister's pissed the fuck off. I'm like arguing with him. It was so embarrassing in the fucking hospital. Like, it was just beyond. So the nurse comes in and she's like, we have to 86 him from the property. He tried to go in the nucleum where all the babies are, and they're like, he smelled like weed and he wouldn't leave, and he got rude with us. And like, none of the nurses liked him. He attacked them. You know, his sister was trying to calm him down, but he was being so disrespectful. Like, he was being beyond uncalled for disrespectful. Like, I don't know, like, he has mental problems. You know, he has bipolarness, probably even ADHD. He doesn't take his pills anymore. So, but that's not an excuse or justification on how you act when your son is born and he's about to die. That's not a justification at all. I finally, you know, I was scared. I was so scared. I told him to get the fuck out of my face. I told my mom to come here. My sister, she was like, we were all trying to make moves. The nurse was there. She was trying to help me. She was such a sweetheart. And my sister was like, get your shit together. She's like, you gotta think right now. This is the time for you to think. What's your next move? If the baby makes it, if he doesn't make it, what's going on? And at the time, I just didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to say because the whole shit happened so fast. I'm thinking in my head like I was gonna walk out with my baby. But now the doctor's telling me my son has 2 fucking hours to live. So I told my mom, because I didn't have the courage. And I blame myself, and I call myself a punk ass bitch for this every fucking day. But I did not have the courage to see my son. I was so scared of seeing my son. It's just like so fucking crazy. Like, I turned around to my mom. It was like, my sister had left. I asked her to leave. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, can you please go see my son to see how he looks? And she was like, no. She was like, I can't do that. She's like, you have to do that. And I was like, no. I said, I don't want to. I was like, please. I was like, I can't bear it. So she went, and she comes back, and I was like, how does he look? And she was like, he looks good, he looks normal, he looks just like you. And we had a moment, and I was like, I'm ready. I'm like, okay. My mom, she gave me good vibes. And then I asked her at that moment, I said, what does my son have, Mom? What is it? And she said, she explained he wasn't born, fully developed. My son he didn't have balls. So he had his wee-wees, but he didn't have the ball section. And he didn't have his full heart, his full organs, lungs, none of that. He was, deformalities. And when I saw him, when I finally built the courage, I had told everybody to leave. So my dad wasn't there, but we were talking over the phone. The father, my kid, he ended up leaving because he couldn't take it anymore. They didn't kick him out, because we ended up calming him down and everything, and they told him, okay, that's fine, he's losing his kid, he can stay, whatever. And the point was for him to stay, and find out, us to figure out as parents, not as a couple at this point, but as parents, what we were going to do with our child. And the whole time I was alone. It was just me and my mom. And he comes in the room, then he leaves, and he's on his phone a lot. He's coming in and out the room on his phone a lot. Then he texted me and said, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, and I want to take a shower. You figure it out. I'll come back in the morning. At that point, I have no emotion whatsoever. I just swallowed that pill and I said, God, you must be real. You would think that some people lose their faith in the Most High when they go through shit like that. But I didn't. At that point, he was proving himself. He was showing himself through my son. I was an atheist for a really long time in my life. I had struggles with the Most High. I would blame him for every fucked up shit that would happen in my life. Every person that hurt me, every person that used me, every man that molested me, any man that disrespected me as a kid, any man that disrespected me as an adult, I always blamed the Most High for all of these events that happened to me. And I never believed in him, and I would always curse him, and I would curse everybody that was close to me, and I just was this miserable bitch because for a really long time I just knew pain. But it was nothing like this pain. And that's when I knew he showed himself through my son. That night, when I finally could move my arms and everything, I told the nurses, take me to my son. I'm ready. I had told my mom leave. I had told my sister leave. I had, the dad and the sister had already left. Then I was by myself. I said, please take me to my son. As they're pushing you and they take you up the stairs, when they put you in the wheelchair and shit, and like they take you up and you're like, you take a little ride and shit, you're like, you don't have to push yourself. I've had those type of rides before because I've been in the hospital, but that ride was horrible. Like, that wasn't like a wee type of ride. That was like, fuck, every moment, every second, every hour I was thinking in my head. Like, every turn she would take, the anxiety and the me inside of me was like, like building. Like, I'm about to see my son. I'm about to see my, like, okay, this is happening. Like, okay. Right when they took me up and I saw him, I like bursted out. I was like, oh my God, like, this is my son. Like, wow, like, my son looked just like me. I have some pictures on here that I want to show of my son so you guys can see him. He looked just like me. He looked like his dad too, but he looked like me and his grandpa. That's what he looked like. He looked like me and his... You can't see nothing from over here, right? So this is my son. Right here. And, from the front, he looks like me, right? Like, you keep swiping. My homegirl had took those pictures. He was in tubes and everything, and this breather thing was keeping my son alive. That breather thing was what was keeping my son alive. And to see him with those tubes and those things, monitoring his heart, monitoring everything. I was sitting next to him for 8 hours. Just thinking in my head, just not understanding how somebody can reject their child even though they're dying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can you reject this angel? Like, and there was this couple next to me, and they were going through the same thing. And there I was, yet again, by myself. Just like my whole life, by myself. Dealing with the ultimate pain in my life. And I looked over and I saw them, and he was comforting his wife, and they were accepting of it together. And, you know, I'm not complaining, but it would have been nice to have the person that created this little human cute being, even if it was 5 minutes that was left on the clock. Like, you know what they say, like, what would you do with your last hour? Who would you spend it with? I would definitely always spend it with my kid. And now, you know, I am pregnant. This pregnancy is going to be pretty successful. My son is healthy. My kid is healthy. I would still go back and try to spend time with Angel. And I remember sitting there and asking, because my mom had told me when I asked her why my son is dying, she said it was genetic. It was from his side. There's something in his bloodline that didn't allow the baby to develop correctly. It was a bad sperm, basically. Bad egg, bad sperm. When we sat down the next day, well, my son had passed away at 4. Let me go back because I'm getting ahead of myself. So when I'm sitting there with my son, nobody's there. It was 4 a.m. It was the last 11 minutes I was going to spend with him. Little did I know at that time. And I'm talking to his nurse, and, you know, she's like, he's strong. He was only supposed to live 2 hours. He's trying to, you know, he was fighting. My son was fighting to live. Like, he was a fucking fighter, just like his mom. Like, fighter, you know. It was really tough because I felt like I was watching myself, because I'm not supposed to be here. When I was born, I was developed correctly, but I had drank some of my mom's the fluid, and it went to my brain, and they had me on tubes just like my son. So I'm not supposed to be here. So it was kind of like reliving that moment, but watching it happen. And as I'm sitting there, I'm talking to my son, telling him that I love him. I'm rubbing all over him, his smell, his touch, the way he looked. I was just so infatuated with my son, just so in love with him. Like, I knew what love really was. Like, it's hard to explain because I lost it, but he showed me what real love was. Like, he had entered my body and was like, this is what love is. This is what love is. Like, not what you have, what you think. No, this is what love feels like. I didn't get to see my son's eyes. He was just there, dying. Hour per hour, minute per minute, second per second. I only had time, and it wasn't that much. It was like 4:10 and his level started lowering. And that all of a sudden, like, all these nurses and the doctor came, like, out of nowhere, like, yeah, we need to move you, we need to get you out the way. So I was in the wheelchair because I could only move this and up. I couldn't move this down. And I had asked the nurse for a Bible. I don't remember, I swear to God, you guys, I don't remember what verse it was or what. I know it was in Psalms and it was about grieving. And I read it and I sat there and I looked and I said, you know what, fuck it. I put the Bible down and all I said was, God, if you allow my son to go with you, I will fully accept it. I was sitting there watching the whole thing happen. When they're trying to revive my son was dying. As he's dying in front of me, I said, God, I accept everything after today that you throw at my way. I'm going to take this L because you're allowing it to happen to me. I'm going to take it. But just know that I will not be the same person ever again after this. And I just sat there and I watched it happen. Like, I watched his last breath. I watched him die. Friends. I was isolated. I couldn't run to anybody. There was nowhere to run. There's nowhere to run. You can't run from death. And I sat there and I faced it like a woman. And I accepted it. And I said, whatever you want, God. The power is yours. When it happened, I told everybody. At first, I was so mad. I was like angry. I was like yelling at them. I was like, get out my face. Get the fuck out my face. So, like, you know. And then when I sat there and I saw him dead, I was just like, I can't be an asshole to you guys. You guys tried everything to revive my son. And I just sat there with him to give him to you. They took all those things off. And I finally got to hold him. And they gave him to me and I held him in my arms. And I just started kissing the fuck out of him. Like, I never kissed anybody in my fucking life. I took everything off of him. And he was naked. And I just took the wrap off. I took everything off. I wanted to touch. I wanted to smell him. I wanted to feel him. I wanted to feel him, but I couldn't because he didn't have his soul in him anymore. It was gone. It was just flesh and meat. It was over. And the ladies, the nurse told me, hey, you have to have somebody here with you. So you don't, so I don't lose myself. Or they didn't know how my reaction was going to be. They knew that I was mixed emotions here. So I'm like, I don't want anybody. I said, everybody at my house is sleeping and I don't want to worry them. And she's like, well, too late. And then I'm like, what do you mean? 2 seconds later, I see my dad coming. And I'm like, what is my dad doing? And my dad is like the type of man that he can't live without my mom. So he doesn't go anywhere without my mom. You know, my parents, they barely speak English. So, they were like, your dad was waiting in the lobby. I was like, since when? And they were like, since 12. They were like, he's just been sitting there for hours waiting. And my dad is so old. He told me, he said, somebody told me to come and be with you. That's what he said. He was like the most high. Just said, get up and go with me with your daughter. And we sat next to each other. And he didn't know my son was dead. And he said, he's like, is he okay? Like, he was trying to, like, I had the baby. He was next to me. He was trying to, like, and I said, no. I said, he's dead. And then, he said something to me that I'll never forget. My dad is 64. Very wise guy. Most respected man in his country. Respected man out here too. He's lived 64 years. I'm 28. He says, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. He said, you're the strongest person I've ever met in my life. I'm a product of him. I'm a product of him. He's 64, I'm 28. For him to sit there and say that I'm the strongest person that he had ever met was the deepest thing that I have ever heard anybody tell me, including my dad. He said, you know why your sisters didn't go through this? Because they probably wouldn't have made it. And mind you, all this just had happened. I'm holding my son. Time hasn't even happened. And he's talking to me like we're in 5 years later. Like I had already made it. He didn't, he just was like so sure that I was going to be strong, And it felt good to have my pops there. And we hugged, we kissed, he touched the baby. I asked him to pray over her so I could have some type of closure. And I did. And then I asked him to go in the morning because I knew he was tired and I was tired. I didn't sleep, you guys. I didn't sleep for fucking a week. Like I could not sleep. Like I looked like a fucking zombie. Like this right here was just like, it was so deep, like not black, but like so red. And then I already had marks on my face because the kid had beat the fuck out of me. Fucking nurses over here all like scared and just like, I remember one of the nurses handed me a note. And the note fucking said, if you don't feel safe, give me a safe word and I will fucking help you. And because I didn't want him to go to jail and stupid as fuck and just going through what I went through with my son and just wanting to just get the fuck out of there. I don't know, you know. I just protected his stupid ass. I just protected him because people have this perception of me of not, just because you're a woman and you're a boss and you choose not to kill a nigga and you choose to do things in the way of the law, doesn't make you a weak ass bitch, and it doesn't make you less real, and it doesn't make you less gangster. It makes you that fucking real that you will stand up for your rights, because this is a fucking free country and it's a country of laws. At the end of the day, it doesn't make you a weak bitch. It makes you a strong fucking woman. That's why feminists fought for laws like this, for domestic violence, and they continue to fight for domestic violence. And we need to take that in consideration and stop taking what social media feeds to our brains and say, oh, because I call the cops I'm less gangster, because I call the cops and I had them deal with you and I didn't have the streets deal with you, because I could have easily had some shooters and handled you, because real niggas don't detest niggas that put their hands on women, just like they detest pedophiles. And that's a fucking fact. Ask any fucking real nigga. Period. Nevada has this thing where they approve of men that put their hands on women, and they give them less time. And I know that because I was fighting a case. being attacked and handling the right way doesn't make you less of, and it doesn't make you a weak ass bitch or not gangster, nigga. To me, you gangster because you didn't go and take another woman's son's life. That's fucking gangster. Killing over some shit, that's not gangster, my nigga. There's ways of going through shit. I should have used those ways, but I chose to deal with the bullshit at that moment. The next day passes for my son. You know, you have to do a birth certificate. So I'm sitting there. His original name was going to be Milton Lee. Milton for his dad, rest in peace. Lee for my father. He comes in the room late as fuck. The next day, fucking 8 p.m., nigga. Doesn't talk to me all day. Doesn't call me to see how I'm doing. Doesn't ask me about the baby. Nothing. Comes at 8 p.m. Tells me he doesn't want to stay with me. Bitching and complaining about everything. I'm sitting there doing this birth certificate and I'm quiet because I'm weak, y'all, at this point. I had no emotion. It's him and his sister. I had called their mom while my son was dying, and I asked her for an opinion because she was the grandmother too. I let her know her grandson was dying, and the only thing this lady could say was she wasn't at peace with me. But it's okay, because you don't have to be at peace with me. If you have no peace towards a person or a situation, that means that you're not at peace with yourself. And I pray to the Most High that you get help with yourself and what you said to me that day. And we forgive you for that. Because you're the prime example of the mother that I will never, ever be to my children, and the heartless woman that I will never be to the next queen. Thank you for that. You taught me things, lessons, ways that I will never be. means a lot. As I'm sitting there doing my son's birth certificate, I changed his name to Angel because he was my angel. In the Bible it says that when a child passes away, he automatically becomes an angel and a part of the kingdom, because those kids are not meant to be, they're not of the world, but they're the Most High. So they have a purpose, and the purpose are not to be served here, but to be served in the kingdom. I have a guardian angel in the sky, and that was his purpose, was to protect me for something. And now I see what the purpose is as time goes by. So I named him Angel. Nathaniel was the name that came from my sister, and that means gift from God, because he was a gift from God. My son, definitely the biggest blessing that I've ever had in my life. There's no money that can top it, nothing, no career, nothing that can top my son. He was the biggest blessing of my life. The day that I lost my son is the day that I found myself. And that was the most beautiful transition that I can say, and the most painful as well. Mentally, it took a toll on me. I tried to suicide myself. I had left my husband at the time, the father of my kid. I left him. I couldn't take it. There was still disrespect. There was still domestic violence going on afterward. I had a fucking broken ass fucking nose, bleeding after C-section, going through the possibilities of you looking for plan B. It was just a bunch of bullshit. It was just a bunch of bullshit I was going through, and I couldn't take it no more, and I had to get my mental health right. So I left the connection, been gone for 2 years, thank God, every day. And I know you're gonna be watching this, and I'm not here to bash you. I'm not here to make you look like nothing, but I'm here to tell my truth, exactly how it happened. And that's exactly how it happened. And I have so many witnesses to that. And there will come a day that I pray to God that you take accountability for the things that you did to me and the things that you did to your son. Because to hurt a woman is to hurt the womb of God. And Farrakhan speaks about that a lot. And you taught me about Farrakhan. And that's the reason why he became my teacher and my mentor, because he defends women. And he knows that 75% of the work that was done back with Adam and Eve, 75% of work has been done with a woman. And when you hurt the woman's womb, it's like hurting God's church. Sometimes he says that we create kids and we make kids out of lust and passion, and we don't sit back and manifest a God, somebody that can change the possibilities of the things that happens in the future with our people. We create kids out of lust and passion, and then become accidents just waiting to happen. And that's something that me and you did not ever create. We didn't sit back and want to manifest of God. We sat back and manifested an accident. And I'm not calling my son an accident, so I don't want nobody to take it literal. But if you have some type of knowledge and logic, you'll understand exactly what I mean by that. I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm just here to tell my truth. And that is my truth. This is what I went through. I don't condone domestic violence, whether it's the woman hitting the man hitting the woman. I don't condone it. And I will never allow myself to go through that again, ever again in life. My mental has gotten a little bit better, but I still suffer every day over my son. I still go through that traumatic things in my head about my son, and I sometimes feel guilty. And when I got pregnant off of my kid now, I totally just look back and I feel fucking guilty, because here I am having a healthy baby. And this is proof too, like trying to say that I couldn't have kids because I'm fat. Wow. This is just living proof of the lies that have been spoken about me. That's not the fact. The fact is that When we sat down with the doctors told me and him in our faces, and God is my witness, it's a godly thing that happened between you and your husband, but his sperm and your egg just were not compatible and did not create a normal human. And that's the fact. And I specifically asked, is it because I'm fat that my son died? They said no. I asked that, and I said, and if in the future I want to have a kid again, not with him but with somebody else, will this happen to me again? And they said no. That for some odd godly reason, and these are scientists that are talking, scientists do not believe in God. That's a fact. But for them to sit there and say that was so fucking deep, and it made me just woke. It said, for some godly odd reason, it happens to 25% of couples out of 100. We were part of that 25 fucking percent. His eggs, my eggs and his sperm are not compatible. And that's just God giving me a sign to get the fuck out of this toxic ass relationship, because he has something better and bigger for me. And I hope that this, vlog or little docuseries that I make, I hope that people can take this and learn from it. I hope that people can, women that are, or even men that are going through abuse, can stand up and say, I'm done. I'm not going to go through this anymore. Please put yourself first. Please put your health first, your mental health, which is very important. Mental health is very heavy right now, especially after the pandemic and everything. Shit, it's been rough, and I want people to seek help. I went and I sought help. I went to a therapist. I had got myself a job. I didn't deal with it in the right way. I buried myself in work, and that's how I dealt with it. You deal with things. Don't let no one tell you not to cry. Don't let no one tell you not to grieve. Don't let no one tell you what to do. Just do you, and just grieve and be the person that you want to be. Because if you hold all that shit in, one of these days is gonna fucking attack you. And that's what happened to me, because I balled it all in. Then pandemic hit, and then reality hit me. Like, whoa, wait a minute. You haven't even grieved for your kid. Just express how you really feel. Don't let it consume you. Just express it. And if you're in a domestic violent ass relationship, you gotta think to yourself at that moment, do I want to deal with this forever? Is it gonna get better, or is it gonna get worse? And once they put their hands on you, it'll never get better. It'll probably even lead to death. And I thank his sister every day for giving me the motivation to leave and to get up and stand up for myself. Because if it wasn't for her lectures and her telling me, hey, my brother's gonna end up killing you. If it wasn't for her telling me that, I probably would be dead. At Seagull Sweets. And I would probably be the next case. But I thank God that I pushed through. I went to therapy for like 2 weeks. After that, I just accepted it. And me and my family don't talk about it because we're just Hispanics. We're old school, and they don't understand my pain, and I don't want them to understand it, and I don't want to be a burden. But I do talk about it with my mom. I don't try to talk about it with my dad. He's a little bit more traumatized. I don't talk about it with my sisters at all. But my nieces were the ones that helped me get by. They were the ones that put up with me. And for a whole year, we cried together. We cried. We cried over my son. And they helped me push through. And if it wasn't for the support that I had from them, I probably wouldn't know how to deal with that. That was the most traumatic thing that I've ever gone through in my life. And I pray that nobody has to go through that. But if you do go through that, just know that you're not alone. Because I felt alone for a long time. And just know that people are going to be cruel. And they're going to talk about you. But you just have to pull fucking through. And don't fucking let that shit get to you. And be fucking strong. And fuck what people gotta say. Because at the end of the day, they're not the ones going through the shit you are. They're not the ones that went through the shit you did. You have to be strong and you have to pull through. Because I guarantee you that at the end of that fucked up ass tunnel, there's a fucking light. Never give up. I know that I try to give up. I know that I turned suicidal, but I had to get right. And I got right by finding myself, loving myself, and being around people that love me, and expressing my feelings and not hiding who I am and not hiding my situation, and coming out and speaking about my situation with you guys. And hopefully that can bring some type of clarity to you guys, or some type of, damn, I'm not alone in this, or even a miscarriage. Doesn't matter. A death is a death. A loss is a loss. So I, hope that you guys can get help and just push through and never give up, no matter what. No matter what. I am coming out with a track called What Can I Do? And then that track in the beginning, you will see evidence and a piece of a situation while I was pregnant off my son, where I went through this violence. And then you guys will fully see what I went through. So I hope you guys learn from this. Take what you can. Never give up. Always find the faith within yourself. Whatever you believe in, find that faith. When you find that faith, you're going to find yourself. I guarantee you, I promise you, that when you put yourself first and you start loving every inch, even if you start with one finger, I don't give a fuck. You look at your finger, you find out what that one thing you like about your finger. It starts with you. Me. You. That's who it starts with. And when you start realizing the beauty, and it doesn't have to be physical beauty, I'm talking about within. When you start finding that beauty within, and you stop thinking so negative and so suicidal, then you will understand the beauty of living. Because some of us, like my son, only had 8 hours to live. And I can tell you that that was the most beautiful fucking time and the most horrific in my life. So it's your girl, Mary Jane. And I hope that you guys learn something from this.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
You ain't nothing to argue about.
I'm not gonna talk.
Now you ain't got nothing to say. But a second ago, I didn't mess with your game.
No, I ain't got nothing to say.
What?
I do not have nothing to say to you. I'm not gonna ruin my night over a fucking game that you could fucking rewire. I'm not gonna do that. I'm high risk. My back hurts. I'm not gonna get all antsy. No, it's my son's life
that I can rewire.
Over this shit.
It's not just a game I can rewire. I just paid for that out my pocket. Bitch, can you fucking pay for it? Can you replace it?
No, I'm broke.
I thought so. They act like it. And watch where the fuck you stepping at. Fucking give a fuck.
The fuck?
Shut up.
The fuck is your fuck? You just hit me.
I don't give a fuck. You about to get murdered.
Oh yeah?
Play me again, bitch. Play me again. Move the fuck out my way. Fuck this check, huh?
That's what you want? Hit me, fucker.
What can I do?
What can I do?
With a nigga like you?
With a nigga like you.
Tell me what can I do?
What can I do?
With a nigga like you? I miss the time.